Hi, my name is Lorraine, and this is my show, Everyday Heroes. This show is about those who may not get the everyday recognition of how important of what it is they do every day to make our world a better place, and what they do to give and the world. Today, my guest is Becky Hill, MFT, marriage family therapist. She currently works in the foster care system. However, she has also worked with convicted criminals, addiction, and the list goes on. Hi, Becky. Thanks for being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
And I should actually say that you are an MFT intern, currently working on your hours, and this is what has brought you to working in so many adverse areas.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, again, thank you. I've been looking forward to talking with you, and I wanted to start out the show seeing if you could walk us through a typical day of yours, kind of give us a visual of what that looks like.
Okay, right now I work, it's a nonprofit organization that has kids in DCFS, foster care, probation. The majority of our kids have been taken out of their homes for various reasons. So a typical day for me is anywhere from 4 to 8 clients a day. And what I do is either individual therapy, family therapy is needed, and really just work on the kids with their goals. So depending on their diagnosis, we have kids with ADHD, PTSD, depression, anxiety, and just personally what I try to do is give them the coping skills to be able to help them decrease whatever negative aspect is in their life.
I see.
There's no typical day.
Okay, right.
There's some days that I go in and, it's just like super fun, happy, the kids are doing great, see progress. There's you walk in a session, you never know. There's sometimes someone could open up about being molested or watching their parents get taken away. So there's really not a typical day.
Wow.
But it keeps me on my toes, and I
was just
going
to say, yeah, how do you prepare for what you're going into? Or is that really ever something that you can prepare for?
You can't, I haven't figured out how to prepare for it, but I've had a lot of teachers when I was in school kind of give me tidbits, and one that really works, and it sounds silly, but I do it every day, is you pretend that you have this pretend briefcase, and at the end of the day, you drop it before you get into your car. Kind of just to leave work at work, which is hard because I think every therapist thinks about their clients when they aren't with them. Because you build relationships with people, so it's hard to just not, turn that off. But I try to just do deep breathing myself.
Good for you. Meditation, yoga, any kinds of those things.
All of those.
Right. What are the ages that you pretty much see right now? I know you have had would they be called residencies, or you've had different...
I've worked at an inpatient drug and alcohol rehab for convicted felons.
Right.
That had to be 18 or over, and rehabs actually stop at, I believe it's 61 or 63.
Oh, interesting.
So the youngest client I had was 18. The oldest client was 57.
Okay.
And my job now, most of them are about 4 or 5 to about 13.
Wow. So complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Completely different.
Wow.
But that's what it is when you're getting licensed.
Okay.
I kind of did that on purpose. A lot of people will stick with the same position. I really want to get a broad spectrum so that when I do get licensed, I have all of that as experience.
Right. So from the people that you've seen, are they typically, how do they respond the first time they're going to therapy? I know, you hear different stories of people being a little bit apprehensive or scared. Are people willingly wanting to go, or is this something they're like having to be ordered to do or forced to do? And how hard do they like resist, or how easy do they go with it? And what
I think it really depends on the population. I know.
Okay.
Just in regular life, there's a stigmatism about going to a therapist. I have friends that kind of fight me on it as well.
Sure.
The kids that I work with, they pretty much don't know any different. They've been taken out of the home. Social workers, dealing with, police coming in, all of that. So I think for them, therapy is a little bit easier. When I worked at the rehab, it took a good few sessions to even have the clients feel comfortable enough to open up, but I don't know if it's just my approach. I'm a really easygoing person.
Right.
I've had a lot of people just first session be fine. It really just depends on the person, and I never try to push them.
Do you think
if someone isn't ready to talk, there's no reason to push them.
Right. Like they'll come to you when...
Yeah, and the people that are kind of hesitant or scared of therapy, I completely understand that. When I first started going to my own therapy, I was scared.
Sure, yeah.
But,
there's
I always just tell the people, I say, this is your therapy, your boat, I'm just along for the ride.
Do you think...
So, however they take it.
Do you think there's a cush of time, like, that you see on average, like, is a magic... I don't want to say magic number, but, like, if you stick with it for 3 weeks or 3 months, like, there'll be something that happens. It will get easier. You'll fall in love with it. You'll still hate it as much as you did on day one. I mean, is there any, amount of time, I should say, that if you kind of stick with it, you see a turn in people, or is it...
I'm going to say it really depends on not the amount of time, but the amount of time it takes the person to realize that the therapist isn't judging them. They're literally there just to help them. And once they put their defense down and they're open, I think it happens like that.
That's a good way of putting it, for sure. So I know I've heard...
Because it's vulnerable for a client,
Sure, you're seeing a stranger for the first time. So I've heard a lot about inner child work, right? And how, and I'm not an expert at it at all. In fact, you'll probably have lots to enlighten me about. But does every adult, this is a question I've always just kind of had, does every adult benefit from like going back and doing that inner child work? From what I understand, it is comforting that child, nurturing it. Is that something every adult benefits from, or is that something that, like, trauma, like if you've had trauma as a child, then you'll benefit from that work later on in life? Or?
Everybody benefits from it, even if you had an amazing childhood.
That was my question. Okay, yeah.
Helps the person kind of connect to who they are, what shaped them as a person.
Okay.
Like the inner child work isn't years ago just kind of a negative thing. Like, mommy issues or this or that or the other. It's really, the inner child work is, by age 3, your personality is already formed.
Wow.
Every single person. So it's really kind of just going back to then figuring out what makes that person the unique person that they are. So it's really a beautiful thing as opposed to kind of a creepy thing, I think.
I love that spin on it. That's great. And that seems like it has a bit of a resurgence, like you said, into like a positive place where maybe it doesn't seem so scary for people, to go to, and seem like it's, again, even having that self-judgment, like, oh, I got to do this work because I'm this, I'm that, blank, instead it's like, I want to do this because I can help myself, or I want to get to know myself better, more, whatever it is. And
the technical, like, psychological term, it really doesn't matter what it is cognitive behavioral therapy. But as humans, we do it every day. So I always tell my clients, whether it was at the rehab, I used to literally, like, throw a quarter at the people and they would laugh at me, but there's two sides to every coin. So you can take, that's what cognitive therapy is. You basically, with the client, would take two triangles. Same concept. If you think, a lot of people have one negative thing, like to make it not personal, okay, it's Monday. Oh, it's Monday. This sucks. I'm tired.
Right.
The whole week ahead of me, you're going to have a terrible Monday. Flip the coin. It's Monday. You have a whole new chance at a week. You're starting fresh. It's really the perspective that you have on things changes your mood, your attitude, your behaviors, everything.
Isn't that amazing, the power of our perspective, right? And why sometimes is it so hard for humans, to like realize that, right? I feel like with that kind of switch, so many things, domino effect, everything changes.
And I even myself train myself to do that. When I start seeing myself,
right? They're
called negative cognitions. When you start seeing yourself think or say something negative, I will stop myself and, mentally flip that coin and change it. Because it does. It changes your whole perspective on life, relationship, everything.
What a great coping tool, too. That
it is a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Just for anybody to try to really remember when they're in that place, that things can be different, things can change on a dime. So what do you do for self-care for yourself? Because I know you can. This can be a pretty heavy position that you're in life, and you hear all kinds of.
This one really has been. The rehab, I think, was a lot easier emotionally on me. This with the kids, it's rough, and everybody in this field practices self-care. We remind each other as therapists. You kind of see someone down. Other clinicians talk to each other. That helps a lot. My personal favorite self-care is the hyperbaric chamber, but I can't do that all the time.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What exactly that is, and if is that something that anyone can benefit from?
I got walked into that one. I didn't know what it was. I was hesitant. I have a friend that owns one, which at that point, you can't say no.
Right.
I did say no, actually, several times, and he kept telling me I needed to do it. But it was the most beautiful experience ever. It's like a chamber that you get into. All your senses are gone. You close your eyes, you open them, it doesn't matter. It's just as dark. There's no noise. There's no breeze. The water's just like a mild, warm temperature. And I did ask because the first time I went, I fell asleep and then was terrified I was going to drown.
Oh, my gosh.
But there's so much. I really was. And I guess I slept in there for like 2 hours.
Oh, my gosh,
there's
that's
so
awesome.
much salt in the water that you can't flip over. But what it is you have your mind just is clear. You don't hear anything. You can't see anything. You kind of just escape reality, and it floods your subconscious. Like our subconscious mind, they think of like an iceberg, where what we really are aware of is like 9 to 11% of what our brain really is. So it taps into everything. Every time I've gone has been a different experience. It really depends on like what you're going through in your life. So it's like its own version of therapy.
That is cool.
Some people, really get anxious from it. For me, it's just a good release to just remember I'm here to help these kids. It's really hard. I can't take on all their pain because that would just be, that would break me, and my job is to be there to help them.
Right.
And then also just building the relationships with them. When I graduate a client, it's sad. I'm going to miss them, but I'm proud of the progress that they've made.
Oh, that's
Yoga is amazing. That's one that's just really kind of mind, body, soul helps. And another one, to be completely honest, is music. Like if I've had a rough day, there's different songs I listen to on the way home.
That's so great. Music is total medicine.
Huge.
Right? Yeah.
And they do music therapy as well. I don't know if you've ever done that.
I haven't, but I've heard of it, and it is something I'm really interested in. Yeah.
It's definitely powerful.